Renu.
The story of Samuel begins during a tumultuous time in Israel's history when the nation was led by judges and the people frequently strayed from God. Samuel's life would mark the transition from the time of the judges to the era of kings, and his journey began with a remarkable answer to prayer. Hannah, Samuel's mother, was deeply burdened. She was barren, and in a culture where having children was seen as a sign of favor and blessing, her heartache was immense. To make matters worse, her husband Elkanah's other wife, Peninnah, ridiculed her for her barrenness. Despite Elkanah's reassurances of his love, Hannah felt incomplete. One year during a visit to the tabernacle at Shiloh, Hannah poured out her heart to God in prayer. She wept bitterly, promising that if God gave her a son, she would dedicate him to the Lord for all the days of his life. As she prayed silently, her lips moved, but no sound came out. Eli, the high priest, noticed her and mistakenly thought she was drunk. "How long will you keep on getting drunk? Get rid of your wine," Eli scolded. Hannah responded humbly, explaining her sorrow and the prayer she was making. Touched by her sincerity, Eli blessed her, saying, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him." Not long after, Hannah's prayer was answered. She gave birth to a son and named him Samuel, which means heard by God. True to her word, when Samuel was weaned, Hannah brought him to the tabernacle and dedicated him to the Lord, leaving him in the care of Eli. As a young boy, Samuel served in the tabernacle under Eli's guidance. Though he was surrounded by corruption, Eli's sons Hophni and Phinehas were known for their wickedness and disrespect for God's sacrifices. Samuel grew up faithful to the Lord. One night, while Samuel was sleeping near the Ark of the Covenant, he heard a voice calling his name. Thinking it was Eli, he ran to him and said, "Here I am. You called me." Eli replied, "I did not call. Go back and lie down." This happened 3 times. Finally, Eli realized it was the Lord calling the boy. He instructed Samuel, "If he calls you again, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" When the voice came again, Samuel answered as Eli had instructed, and God spoke to him, revealing that he would bring judgment on Eli's household because of the sins of his sons. This was a heavy message for young Samuel, but he faithfully delivered it to Eli the next morning. Eli, recognizing God's will, responded, "He is the Lord. Let him do what is good in his eyes." From that day forward, Samuel grew in wisdom and became known as a prophet of the Lord. As Samuel matured, he became a judge and leader of Israel, guiding the people back to God. He called on them to abandon their idols and return to the worship of the Lord. At one critical moment, the Israelites faced a formidable enemy, the Philistines. Samuel gathered the people at Mizpah for prayer and fasting. As they sought God's help, the Philistines launched an attack. Samuel cried out to the Lord, and God intervened. A thunderous sound confused the Philistines, and they were defeated. To commemorate the victory, Samuel set up a stone and named it Ebenezer, meaning stone of help, declaring, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." As Samuel aged, the Israelites demanded a king to lead them, wanting to be like the nations around them. This grieved Samuel, but God told him to listen to their request, explaining that their desire for a king was a rejection of God as their ultimate ruler. Samuel warned the people about the challenges and burdens of having a king, but ultimately anointed Saul as Israel's first king, following God's direction. Saul began well, but later disobeyed God's commands, leading to his rejection as king. God then sent Samuel to Bethlehem to anoint a young shepherd named David as the future king of Israel. Though Samuel was initially unsure, as David was the youngest and seemingly least likely choice, God reminded him, "The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Samuel continued to serve as a prophet and guide, providing wisdom and correction even during the reign of Saul. His life was marked by unwavering faith and dedication to God, serving as a bridge between the era of judges and the establishment of the monarchy. Samuel's story reminds us of the power of prayer, the importance of listening to God's voice, and the role of faithful leadership in pointing people back to Him. His legacy endures as a man who stood firm in his faith, even in times of great challenge